in free agency. That's saucy. Chris Wessling in the AFC East, a place where the Patriots sit on the throne of ease. Greg, does it even make sense to load up in free agency when Tom Brady's in the building?
It doesn't make sense to do it the way the Dolphins have. You're seeing the sins of shopping sprees past go. Mario Williams, Earl Mitchell, Brandon Albert out the door, because what the Dolphins do, they just reshuffle the deck every year, play a few different cards, but that's not a way to win in the NFL. And the Dolphins are the biggest proof in the NFL that there's a negative correlation between winning free agency and winning games.
They've done it before. I don't need a rap sheet. I respect rap sheet, but
he does really good work.
I don't need him to tell me Dolphins are going to be active. I just look at the calendar. It's March. That's what they do. It's Mike Tannenbaum. That's what they do. That's what he does. You can't really penalize Tannenbaum for the mistakes previous Dolphins regimes made, and it doesn't surprise me that they're going to be active, because this defense looks terrible on paper. Very quietly did not perform last season, and they've really got holes at every level of the defense.
Let's pile on the Dolphins. Go.
I will not pile on them, because you know
Smart.
what I like about the Miami Dolphins, unlike other teams in that division that seem to be in sheer chaos if you're not in New England, is that you have consistency with a coach in Adam Gase, that the players, before the season, the one thing they said, the players love Adam Gase. At the end of the year, the same thing. Tugs them into the playoffs without Ryan Tannehill healthy. Listen, last year they got Laramie Tunsil in the draft. They got Devontae Parker the year before, Jay Ajayi. They are building through the draft, and I say why not go for it? What are you going to do, sit around and just let New England continue to win the division year after year?
Got to lay down.
They have
just
to
lay down.
I like the trade for Julius Thomas, too.
Julius Thomas trade, that could be helpful if he doesn't run like an offensive lineman in 2017. But here's the thing. This is where the Dolphins are in a different place than all the other AFC East teams, not named the Patriots. The Jets, we know, it looks like they're heading toward a full rebuild. The Bills, they're kind of hanging in Never Never Land. We don't know where they are, but we know they're not close to dethroning the Patriots. The Dolphins, if they make the big splash that we're hearing about in free agency and make some good moves coming off a 10-6 season, I get why they're talking themselves into making a run in 2017, but still, it's the Patriots. You could find yourself in like a football purgatory where you're spending a ton of money and it's all for nothing.
Well, they have to be better than they were last year. They were lucky to get to the playoffs, I think, in terms of winning a lot of close games. They know that they have to be better just to avoid going back to 6-10, back to 8-8. Like Legion of Boom, Byron Maxwell thinks all they need is a nickname in the secondary to be good. They need a cornerback. Like, that is the position I'm kind of circling, looking at all the big name cornerbacks and thinking the Dolphins are going to spend money, whether it's Stephon Gilmore or Tremaine Johnson. One of those guys goes to Miami.
They have to be honest with who they are. Every year there's an NFL team who barely missed the playoffs or just made the playoffs and is convinced they're one or two pieces away from being a true contender. The Dolphins are a lot more than a one or two pieces away, and they keep throwing money at problems. But like you said, they won a lot of close games. They beat 5 non-playoff teams in the second half of the season by one score in games that could have gone either way. They have to understand the role of randomness in their 10-6.
So what does that mean? You sit down and you don't spend money, you don't act? I like the idea of being aggressive. Go after someone like Brandon Williams. Go after, you know what, how about this? Go into New England, take Hightower out of there, and lessen the Patriots. What is this thing about, yes, they've spent money in the past. This is not that regime. This regime has done a pretty good job. I like the trade they pulled off last year with the Eagles. It worked out for them last season. They've had more measured moves. They've drafted well under this regime, and why not keep going? I don't know why you now take your foot off the gas.
I believe you are getting a Christmas card from Mike Tannenbaum.
Why not?
December.
I've got room in my Christmas card barrel.
You have a Christmas card?
I mean, it's empty.
Wow,
it's
cool.
February. I've emptied it out.
It's a cool thing to have.
Yeah.
And there's one other thing here, too. And I'll go back to again, because we tend to in the offseason just say, oh, Ryan Tannehill, he's fine, or he's ascendant, or he's good enough. And where are we now? Where do you think this regime is? Is Ryan Tannehill at the center of this promising offense? Wes, do you think Tannehill is the guy that could be the one that could dethrone Tom Brady and the Patriots?
There's nothing we've seen to date that would suggest he is that guy. And he's part of the problem with this team. They are built in a weird way where he and Ndamukong Suh occupy $40 million against the salary cap. And Tannehill's an average NFL quarterback. He's not even a competitive asset, and he occupies too large a percentage of your salary cap to build a strong roster.
And you have to just get better players around him. I mean, that's the thing. They have to spend because the draft's not enough. They need 2 starting guards. They need a cornerback. They need 2 starting linebackers. They're going to need some interior players on the defensive line.
But other than that, Greg,
they've got a roster that would speak more to 6-10, so I think it makes sense to go after.
If they are better than where they were 2 years ago, I think they've got a better coach. They've got a better front office in place, and that's where you begin.
And I'll say this: the Jets fans and the Bills fans, it might make sense to rebuild at this time. Tom Brady obviously has a couple years left, and this is where you load up. But if you're a Dolphins fan and you're coming off 10-6, you like the idea of your team loading up and taking a shot at the 40-year-old quarterback. Tom Brady, 40 years old. Wes, did you know that?
40
Soon.
years old and getting better.
I don't buy rebuilding. You rebuild in the NFL, you get fired.
You're a
Get
Patriots
fired.
fan. Of course, you don't need to buy anything, but Dolphins fans have to buy something and be aggressive.
I would just caution this with fans. There is one team in the last 4 years that has used free agency well and often, and that's the Denver Broncos because John Elway always gets his man.